If you care about history, survival, and, the hidden systems that quietly shape civilization, subscribe to After the Sirens right now and leave a comment saying where you're watching from. This channel exists for people who understand that history doesn't disappear, it gets buried. During World War II, nations faced a problem more dangerous than enemy fire. Starvation, shipping lanes were destroyed, fertilizer factories were bombed, and entire populations had to be fed with fewer resources than ever before. In response, scientists and agronomists were given unprecedented freedom to experiment. What they discovered wasn't incremental. In many cases, food production doubled or even tripled without synthetic fertilizer inputs. These methods worked across Europe, Asia, and North America. Then, after the war, the research vanished. Not disproven, not replaced, simply ignored. Tonight, we are going to examine 9 World War II soil secrets that tripled harvest and ask why fertilizer companies buried this research using original wartime documents, agricultural trial reports, and the economic shifts that followed. If you're a serious historian or someone preparing for a world where supply chains fail again, this knowledge matters. Wartime agriculture proved soil biology could replace industrial inputs. During World War II, synthetic nitrogen was prioritized for explosives, not farming. This forced governments to revisit soil biology rather than chemistry. Agricultural stations across Britain, Germany, the United States, and the Soviet Union documented dramatic yield increases when soils were treated as living systems instead of inert growing media. Crop yields rose when microbial activity was restored through composted organic matter, diversified rotations, and mineral balancing. These results contradicted the pre-war chemical fertilizer model, which viewed soil as a passive structure needing constant external feeding. The key lesson was simple but honestly quite disruptive. Healthy soil feeds crops. Fertilizers merely prop them up temporarily. Composting at scale rebuilt exhausted farmland faster than chemicals. One of the most overlooked World War II breakthroughs was the industrial-scale composting programs implemented in Britain and Germany. Municipal waste, animal manure, crop residues, and even food scraps were composted using controlled aeration methods. Trials showed that compost-amended fields retained moisture longer, resisted erosion, and produced stronger root systems than chemically fertilized fields. In British Ministry of Agriculture reports from 1942 to 1945, wheat yields increased by over 60% in fields treated with mature compost compared to nitrogen-only plots. Farmers today can apply this by focusing on fully decomposed compost rather than raw manure, incorporating it shallowly to protect microbial life, and allowing soil to rest between heavy feedings. Crop rotation restored nutrients fertilizers could not replace. World War II field trials confirmed what pre-industrial farmers already knew. Rotating crops restored soil structure and nutrient availability in ways no fertilizer could replicate. Legumes fixed atmospheric nitrogen, deep-rooted plants brought up minerals from lower soil layers, and alternating root architectures prevented compaction. German wartime agronomists documented that rotating cereals with clover and root crops produced higher long-term yields than continuous monoculture with fertilizer supplementation. Today, this knowledge applies directly to food security planning. Even small gardens benefit when leafy greens follow legumes and grains follow deep-rooted crops like daikon or sunflowers. Mineral balancing actually mattered far more than just the sheer quantity of nitrogen. One of the most suppressed findings of World War II soil research was the importance of mineral balance. Scientists discovered that calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and those trace minerals really governed nutrient uptake, much more than the volume of nitrogen alone. Crops grown in soils with the right mineral balance needed less fertilizer and, interestingly, showed higher protein density. In fact, American wartime trials revealed that simply correcting the calcium to magnesium ratios increased corn yields, and that was done without increasing nitrogen at all. Today, this means soil testing should go well beyond just NPK and, using things like limestone, gypsum, or rock dust to correct those imbalances before adding any other nutrients. Deep tillage was actually replaced by a focus on preserving soil structure. Contrary to what post-war industrial farming promoted, World War II research clearly showed that excessive tillage destroyed soil aggregation and those vital microbial networks. Reducing tillage preserved the fungal highways, which are essential for nutrient transport. Fields that were only lightly cultivated or even left undisturbed between crops managed to retain fertility for much longer and were better able to resist drought stress. And this principle holds true today, especially with no-dig or minimal disturbance systems. Even home growers can avoid turning soil deeply and instead simply layer compost and organic matter right on the surface. Green manures, well, they were all about feeding the soil before feeding the crops. Crops like clover, vetch, and rye were widely planted during the war, not for harvesting, but to be reincorporated back into the soil itself. These green manures increased organic matter, improved water retention, and, importantly, fed the microbial communities. Soviet agricultural stations actually documented yield increases of over 80% when green manures were grown before grain crops. Modern growers can really take a page from this by dedicating off-seasons to soil regeneration, rather than just pushing for continuous production. Microbial inoculation, actually replaced chemical dependency. During the Second World War, researchers experimented with bacterial and fungal inoculants decades before these ever became commercial products. These microbes, they enhanced nutrient availability and disease resistance. The results? Healthier crops with fewer inputs. Today, compost teas, mycorrhizal inoculants, and biologically active compost can, when used properly and sparingly, really replicate these results. Water retention, honestly, mattered more than irrigation volume. Soil that was rich in organic matter held significantly more water. Wartime drought resilience studies showed that compost-rich fields required less irrigation, all while maintaining yields. And this was absolutely crucial when fuel shortages limited pumping capacity. The modern application is frankly straightforward. Increase organic matter, and irrigation demand just drops naturally. Post-war economics, they essentially erased biological soil research. After the Second World War, fertilizer factories pivoted from making explosives to serving agriculture. Governments subsidized chemical inputs, and as a result, biological research was sidelined, not because it failed, but simply because it couldn't be patented or monopolized. University funding, as you might expect, followed industry money. Soil biology became old-fashioned. The original title still stands, WWII Soil Secrets That Tripled Harvests. Why did fertilizer companies bury this research? The answer isn't really a mystery, it's economics. If this kind of suppressed history matters to you, do consider subscribing to After the Sirens and perhaps share this video with someone who still believes modern systems are permanent. Leave a comment with which of these WWII soil strategies surprised you most. Knowledge like this, it doesn't disappear, it just waits for the next crisis.